Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome to the Networking RX podcast. I'm your host, Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. Today is another guest day, another day I have a great guest on here. As our ongoing subscribers know, often on this podcast, I will be sharing ideas, insights, and best practices for building professional relationships and excelling at business networking. Occasionally, however, I'll be interviewing subject matter experts. These are authors, speakers, thought leaders, social scientists, and these people share what they know to help us build better relationships and understand why, as humans, we do the things we do or don't do the things we should be doing. Today, I have an expert on here, founder and CEO of Nectar Consulting, Michelle Molitor, and she's co-author of the best-selling book, Breakthrough Healing. She works with executives and entrepreneurs, and she's been doing this over 30 years, sharing her experiences, her insights, and strategic business savvy to help empower their success. Her clients dub her the mind detective. We'll get into that because she's an expert at helping high achieving professionals remove the blocks created by imposter syndrome, anxiety, overwhelm, and burnout. She assists her clients to achieve greater confidence and self-worth so they can be more productive and satisfied in their careers. And that gives them more time for better health, home life, hobbies, amplifying their success, and greater ease and balance. Michelle, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Frank. Delighted to be here with you.
The imposter syndrome. I talk about this all the time, and years ago I read what's her name? You're Michelle. Amy Cuddy.
Oh yes, love Amy Cuddy.
Yeah, she wrote the book Presence and talked about the imposter syndrome in there, which was, and I don't want to say a revelation to me, but what the revelation was is that so many people had it, and then she came forth and she said, I really kind of have it as a person at Harvard. And at that moment, I realized, what? I think most people have some form of it. And it just kind of changes how I look at people and how people put themselves forward. And sometimes people shrink because of imposter syndrome. And I think sometimes people overcompensate because of imposter syndrome. And
yes, it goes both ways for sure.
Yeah. So I'm not the expert. I think about this a lot. I have my own, my own little doubts, bouts of self-doubt. So let's, I guess, jump off. How did you get into this? How did, what sparked this? Please.
Sure. So, in my former career, so I've been a professional coach for 20 years, a hypnotherapist for 5 years. And prior to that, this time in my life, I was a creative director in web development. And I had been moved from Atlanta to San Francisco at the height of the dot-com boom in 2000. I had a golden ticket. We were going to IPO the week I started. It was a big global high-tech hot.com. Super exciting. And I was building up my team. And well, the week I started, the market crashed first and foremost. So that was a bad omen of things to come. But I kept building my team and I made some key hires. And two of the gentlemen that I hired very quickly made it obvious that they didn't like working for a woman and that they knew more than I did. And they thought they were better than me in all sorts of ways to Sunday. And They did things and said things that undermined my authority and my confidence. And over a period of time, it ultimately led to me getting let go from my job because my self-confidence went into the pooper, quite frankly. And it created a massive, massive case of imposter syndrome for me. I will never forget the day that my boss called me into the office and smiled at me and said, "This isn't working." I was like, "What's not working?" He's like, "This." I was like, "What?" And all the blood drained from my body. And ultimately, I was let go a few weeks later, and it just was devastating because I'd spent 10 years getting to that illustrious corner office. And then to have it be pulled out from underneath me, I was very much left a deer in the headlights of what do I do now? And who am I? And how do I move forward? And all of that, the gift in that was it led me to coaching to help me figure out what the heck do I do next? Because the thought of handing my resume to anybody in that moment was terrifying to me. Yeah. And ultimately, I discovered my true calling and passion and purpose. So I went on to change careers, start my own company, Nectar Consulting, 20 years ago, and have been a coach ever since. But in those early years of being a coach, it was very much my own journey of self-discovery. Like, how do I reclaim my confidence? And why is it that some people are so confident and others don't have any? I look at my brother, right? Grew up in the same family, infinitely more confident than I am. I'm like, why is that? And so I spent thousands of hours studying this and researching it, and learning different various modalities of how to help people reclaim their confidence and overcome their self-doubt, which is what I found to be at the heart, the underbelly of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is this nice word, right, that was coined back in the 70s, that allows us to point to this very uncomfortable feeling we have within ourselves. But we don't want to say, "Hey, everyone, I have self-doubt." Right. So imposter syndrome makes it a little bit more palatable, I guess, for folks. And so from all of the research that I've done and the thousands of clients I've worked with, I've developed the self-doubt archetype quiz to help you identify what is the predominant self-doubt archetype that's running you, that has you overgiving, people-pleasing, keeping you awake at night, filled with anxiety, worry, and fear. But more importantly, how do you overcome that? And how do you start to rewire your brain with new pathways that say, yes, I believe in myself. I can do this. Even if I don't know how today, I can figure it out and move forward more powerfully. So it's been quite a journey, Frank. But I love what I do. And I have the joy of witnessing my clients have these beautiful aha moments where they see within themselves finally their own true value and worth. And then they're able to share that with the world in a much bigger way.
At what point is it truly imposter syndrome, or is it truly being realistic? I guess, because I'll talk to people about imposter syndrome, and again, I'm not an expert, and it's an epiphany for them, for them to realize, I might belong, and the imposter syndrome is really only for the person who maybe didn't graduate college or whatever it might be, and the whole notion that an Amy Cuddy figure who's at Harvard, which is kind of the pinnacle of higher education, arguably, has it.
Well, there's a great book called The Confidence Code, written by Katty Kay and Claire Shepherdson, who are international journalists, and they interviewed some of the most powerful women around the world: Angela Merkel, Christina, who's head of the International Monetary Fund, whose last name I can't think of. These amazing, brilliant women have all confessed to having levels of imposter syndrome, right? Who am I? Why should anyone listen to me? So it's far more common, both for men and women. The research tells us that 25 to 30% of high achievers suffer from imposter syndrome, and 70% of adults suffer from it at least at some point in their career. It's something that It comes in ebbs and flows, I found.
Mm-hmm.
The key is, do you let it overtake you and rack your brain, creating physical manifestations of anxiety, fear, which can turn into tangible illness? Or are you able to notice it and then quickly respond and shift your thinking? That's what I help people do, because self-doubt is going to always creep in, especially when you're faced with a new challenge, something that pushes you to the edge of your comfort zone, whatever that might be, right?
Yeah.
Networking can be very uncomfortable for some people, especially if you're an introvert, right? A lot of folks have social anxiety. Hi, right? Especially when you're out there getting back into meeting and greeting people in person. But when you can recognize that the edge of your comfort zone, it's just a sensation. It's just an energy that you're feeling in your body, like, ooh, this feels unfamiliar. So it feels a little scary. But you can flip that interpretation to, oh, this is exciting. It's new and different. And tell your brain a different story about that energetic sensation in your body. It's a game changer for people. You know, everything is energy, right? Let's step into quantum theory here for just a minute, Frank, right? Everything
Right.
is energy, right? Emotions are energy. Feelings are energy that just want to move through your body. It's our mind that interprets that energy as good or bad, uncomfortable or exciting. And so I always tell folks, you get to choose. Is it good or is it bad? Is it white? Is it black? Is it chocolate or is it vanilla? Right?
Right.
You get to choose. So choose something that works for you, that inspires you, that empowers you, energizes you, versus have you shrink back with fear. So the reason why we do this is there's the part of your brain called the amygdala. It's your fight, flight, or freeze mechanism in your limbic brain, the ancient part of your brain back here at the back of your head. And I like to call her Amy. Amy's your amygdala. And Amy's job is to keep you alive and safe and on the planet. And based on just survival instincts, right, and the programming that you learned growing up, Amy will tell you if a particular situation is safe or not. So if you grew up in an environment where meeting new people wasn't safe because that's what your parents told you, or they had their own set of fears, then that belief is adopted by children, because we absorb the water that we swim in, so to speak, right?
Right.
And so Amy is like, okay, I've got the memo. Meeting new people is not safe. So it will create that sensation in your body of, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is nervous energy, and I should be scared. I should step away from it. I should recoil. And so your job as an adult is to go, no, Amy, we're going to give this a new definition. This is exciting. I like expanding the edges of my comfort zone because that's where learning happens.
Right.
Right. So it's all about creating reframes for yourself. And in the moment, this is the tricky part, in the moment when you're feeling that fear sensation, to create a pattern interrupt and go, nope, I'm flipping this. I'm creating a quantum flip for myself. And I'm going to call it, this feeling is excitement instead. And I like to feel that feeling of excitement. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question, but I hope
I like it. I like it. And, you've touched on networking and relationships, which this program really is about. We try to be about, but when I stumbled across your LinkedIn profile, and I've been connected, but I really looked at your profile and I saw imposter syndrome. That's when I reached out and said, hey, I would love to talk to you about this, because I see people, I don't want to go to networking events. Okay, why not? Right? Why not? Why would you not want to go? I mean, I don't push them. I know is scary. I'm Mr. Network. I feel these apprehensions when I walk in, right? So I know that they're feeling those apprehensions, but I'm going to be there too. So what's the big deal, And part of my theory on it is, in a way, it's imposter syndrome. Well, I really don't belong. They're going to realize that I'm not, I don't belong for whatever reason.
Right. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. I'm not smart enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not blah, 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 blah. Right. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, and I think social media, you can touch on this. I think social media hurts to a degree because people are either really, people are posting the best of the best or the worst of the worst. You don't get the, I'm just having a bad hair day for a third day in a row kind of things on social media. You're
Right.
getting, hey, I'm killing it.
I'm beautiful and I have the most amazing filters to create this look, right?
Right.
But it's literally and technically a facade that people are hiding behind on social media. That's why social media has been proven to be actually quite detrimental to kids, because they think it's very black and white. You're either all of that or you're nothing, right? And it's created terrible amounts of anxiety and depression and suicide and all sorts of things. And so one of the things that's so important for people and your listeners to take in is being authentically you, good, bad, in between, up, down, middle of the road, bottom of the pit, doesn't matter. But showing up for who you are genuinely is what makes you most relatable. True story. I was in one of my very first coach training classes, and it was a weekend thing, and it was a corporate coaching training course. And I kind of snuck in because I was supposed to have these other 4 courses I hadn't done yet. I'm like, I'll show up and I'll just figure it out as I go, because that's how I roll. And, I'm just doing my thing and going through. And one of the trainers said to me, he goes, you're much more approachable when you're vulnerable. And my very first instinct was like, back it up, Chuck. No, thank you. Vulnerability is scary. But I've gotten this message over and over and over again over the years. And it's not about vulnerability of sharing your deepest, darkest secrets, but just being authentic. And some days you have bad hair days. And that's okay, because we're all just human.
That's why I think I default to self-deprecating humor. I say I think because it's not a conscious thing, but somebody will say something and I'll, oh, hey, Frank gave me a copy of his book. And I might say, well, I gave it to you for free because I signed it, so it's defaced. It's got no value, right? Which people get a chuckle out of that. And it's just, I'm not a comedian. I don't write these things out, but it just kind of came to my mind. And I just feel like to a degree, I default to these sorts of things. And is it harmless? Is it harmful? I don't know.
That's a whole nother conversation for another time, Frank.
Sure. I'm sure it is. So anyhow, well, let's shift gears. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I want to talk about your business, things that you've got going on. You have a book, you have a coaching program, but please share a little about those things for the listener. Sure.
So my book, Breakthrough Healing, I co-authored it a couple of years ago with several colleagues, and it gives you an array of different alternative healing modalities, one of which is the rapid rewiring work that I do with my clients. And so in there, I talk more about it and how it works, essentially combining the power of coaching, which is conscious level work, with the power of hypnotherapy, which is subconscious level work. Your subconscious is 90% of your brain power, and your conscious mind is only 10% of your brain power. So when you're able to access your subconscious through these tools and techniques that I use, it allows us to get at the root cause of the limiting beliefs and the behaviors, and even sometimes the physical ailments that are holding people back from living their full authentic life, right? Showing up fully in their careers or their businesses and their lives, personally or professionally. And so I work with people in a couple of different ways. I have my one-to-one rapid rewiring programs, where over the course of 30 to 90 days, we do a very customized journey for you to get at those root causes, combining several hypnotherapy sessions and several coaching sessions to really help you identify those limiting beliefs, neutralize the negative emotional charges around it, and then literally rewire new neural pathways in your brain with new beliefs. I believe in myself. I can do this. I've got this. Using these different tools. I also have a new group program called How to Become Unshakable. It's a 7-week group experience. You get a new module of learning every week. You go at your own pace. There's a private online face group for it as well, and a group coaching calls to support you all throughout the process. So it's 20 years of work poured into a 7-week course in and of itself. Or if you've got some very particular things that you're really ready to let go of, then that's when we do the one-to-one customized work. My clients typically come to me for that one-to-one work when they've tried a lot of other things and nothing has worked or given them the results that they've really been seeking, the relief they've been seeking from fears, phobias, lack of confidence, lack of belief in themselves that manifest in different ways. And it's impacting their success, their finances, their relationships in different ways. And those are the folks who get amazing results. I just finished working with a woman who was really dealing with a pretty bad case of corporate PTSD. She'd been working for this large health organization for 15 years. And the management philosophy, shall we say, shifted in a way that really wasn't in alignment with her goals. And her boss was throwing her under the bus. And it felt bad, and it was creating severe amounts of stress for her. And she'd already been through a bout of cancer, and she didn't want to relive that. She didn't want to have her body fail her again as a way of trying to remind her, no, this isn't working for you, right? Mm-hmm. And so over a period of 6 months in working with her, she came to the choice based on her values that it was time for her to leave that organization and take time off to regroup and recoup and allow her body to rebalance itself before stepping back into her career and finding that next position that really is aligned with her values. And on our last call together, she said, I can't thank you enough. This has been such a game changer for my whole life. It's truly changed the direct trajectory of my career in a good way. And it's moments like that, Frank, that just make my whole soul smile with knowing that I am lucky enough to do what I love and love what I do and to help people find that for themselves.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Professionally, the best thing to ever happen to you was to be fired.
Yes, it was.
All those years ago.
Yeah, it was. I always say, it was totally a blessing in disguise. But at the time, it was super painful. And it took me years to even talk about it because there was so much shame and guilt and, oh my gosh, I failed and I'm bad and wrong and all of these things. But what I've learned is your greatest source of pain is your greatest source of passion and purpose, right? When you can take that really painful event and turn it around and give it back to the world as a gift, that's your sweet spot. When you get to operate from your values, your passion, your purpose in the world. And that's where work no longer feels like work. It's just a gift that you get to give, and you happen to get paid well for it too along the way. And what's better than that?
Well, probably nothing. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you, to go through your website?
Sure. So they can find me at MichelleMolitor.com. That's Michelle with one L, last name Molitor, MOLITOR.com. And I'm always happy to have a complimentary and confidential discovery call with those who are curious or interested in how they can make quantum flips in their life and up-level things with new levels of confidence and a sense of self-worth.
I appreciate your time today.
It's been a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.